Hello and welcome to Branding for Artists and Artisans. I'm Dr. Maya, founder of Market Your Purpose and instructor in the CU Denver Music Business Department. I'm excited that you've joined us today. Let's get started on branding for artists. The first thing we want to think about is just some basics on what is a brand? What do I mean when I say brand? Put simply, it's how you communicate who you are and what you do to the world. It's that story that you're telling, and there is a specific way to set up that story so that it's consistent, believable, and something that really attracts people to you as you begin to build your fan base and your clientele as an artist. It's the story that you tell about who you are and how that relates to the art that you create. So let's think about how that works. There are three main elements to a brand. And the first one is the core brand statement. We're going to talk about and think about all three elements of the core brand statement. The first thing you want to do is start with your purpose. Start with your why. A lot of us have heard of Simon Sinek and his golden circle, and I subscribe to this thinking as well. We start with why, and then that informs everything else that we do. So we want to think about, why are we wanting to make this art? Why do we want to make this certain craft or product? Why do we want to make this music and share it with the world? And so that may take a little bit of philosophizing on your part of, why are you doing this? And commercialism is a fine reason. So is the more soul-centered purpose that a lot of artists have as well. So it really just depends on what's in here, what's in your heart and soul of why you're approaching this type of career or activity. The second part of this then goes into the how. So how does the music you make propel that vision, propel that why forward? And then getting into the what at the very end of the statement is, what kind of music or art items do you actually specifically make? What genre do you create music within, for example? And so this becomes your core brand statement. Start with the why, focus on the how, and then go into the what. So what's an example? This is just a silly example here, but it says, we believe that laundromats are the center of social life and that everyone should have access to live music when matching up those holy old socks. That's why we travel the country playing acoustic laundry music. And so within that, you see the why, the how, and the what. Now let's talk about core values. This is the second piece of the three-part brand that we're talking about. The core values are that next part. And so if you're an artist that's trying to come up with your core values, it's best to think about 3 to 5 main things that you really, really value, and no more than that, and maybe no less than that, because we really want to have that 3 to 5 range in there defining your core values. And these can be things like, just having fun, or celebrating your heritage as a member of a family that's done music, or maybe, just the idea of freedom or advocating for equality. These are the values that are behind that why, the values that are propelling you forward as an artist or a creator. So think about those core values. Again, you might have to do some philosophizing, some meditating, some prayer. Really, where are you coming from in the sense of your values? What's driving your core value system? Then we want to think about those two things, the core brand statement and the core values, and come up with a tone, a series of guidelines for the tone of the brand. And so this is really asking yourself questions like, how do I want to communicate with my fans? Am I fun? Am I silly? Am I more serious? Am I dark? What are those elements of tone that we can begin to think about in terms of how we're communicating with the audience? And this flows into so many different things, from the way that you write your website to how you communicate on social media, even what types of merchandise you may choose to produce. So you want to think about 3 to 5 words, or even phrases that really describe that style of communication, and get down and really define it. Even if you're a solo musician or solo act, it does help to write these things down and create yourself a brand guideline. And so that's what we're getting to in looking at these 3 elements, is as a whole, those 3 things create your brand guideline. And so your brand is made up of these 3 elements. It's that core brand statement, the why, the how, the what. It's those core values that really drive everything for you. And then it's the tone or the approach that you're using to communicate. These three elements are going to add up to be your brand guideline. And that leads all kinds of other specific choices, like what font you're going to use on your website, who you might hire to help you write some emails out to your fans. Are they going to be the person that's going to be able to use that right tone, for example, and push those core values for you as a brand? So there's a lot of different choices that you need to refer back to the brand guidelines in order to make efficiently and effectively. So again, you're going to use these three elements and create that brand guideline for yourself. Now, what do I mean when I say, specific choices? A lot of that has to do with your digital presence. So I already mentioned a couple of examples, but these are going to be things that are informed by your brand guideline. The logo that you create for your band, the font choices, which we call typography in web development, the imagery that you use. Are you going to have that really fully color saturated looking image? Are you more of that light, bright type of image? Are you using color filters? Are you not? Is it black and white? Is it color? Are we using a lot of outdoor landscapes? Is it more of a city environment? These all kind of flow out of your brand guidelines and all those questions that you answered for yourself as we've been thinking and talking about this. It does flow into copywriting, how you actually write on your website, even things like social media communications. That's going to be informed by your brand guideline and really the overall impression that you're making. So is somebody going to be able to look at your materials, interact with you as a group or an artist or an artisan, a maker, a creator, and then go off and be able to tell their best friend about exactly what you do in the right way that pushes, again, those core values, that brand core forward? Do they understand what you actually are trying to put forward? If they're not understanding based on the interactions they're having with all these materials, maybe you aren't clear enough on your brand. And the reason that that's important is there is so much saturation, especially in the arts, especially in music and popular music. There's so many artists and things to choose from out there that a brand is really one of the ways that people identify with you, connect with you, and really want to be a part of what you're doing. And so it is really one of the building blocks of creating a fan base. And it's very important to be consistent and to think about it specifically when you're going out there to create a business from your art. So logo, fonts, imagery, copywriting, and the overall impression are some of the specifics that you deal with when you're creating your digital brand. Thank you for your time and listening to this short presentation on branding. If you do have any questions, feel free to hit us up at marketyourpurpose.com. Thanks.